Hello and welcome to the latest from Hearts Standard. My name is Joel Sked and I'm delighted to be joined by Tom Irving once more as we look over the most recent Heart of Midlothian signing, which was Oisin McEntee, who was added on a 3-year deal and confirmed on Saturday. How's it going, Tom?
I am not too bad. Excited to be back here.
Yes. I mean, we are recording this on a Tuesday morning, and we're just recording it before your article goes out on McEntee, and I'll be basically putting up the just so I was timing it so this could go into the article, and we obviously did do Monday because you had a stag in Hamburg, and as both of us, I believe you're in your similar to me in your mid-30s, is that it takes a wee bit longer to recover after such antics.
Yeah, the article would have been very short and not very detailed, and it would have been nonsense. Your job as an editor would have been pretty bloody hard. So,
but you survived. I know what Hamburg is like, having experienced it a couple of times, so that is good. But before we get into talking about McEntee, Heart Standard is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Edinburgh and the surrounding area, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search today. So, Tom, I think Oisin McEntee was someone who it's certainly a wee bit left field and raised a few eyebrows just because he's arriving from League Two in England, and I think if it wasn't for the fact that Hearts are all in with Jamestown Analytics, there might have been a bit more scepticism, but it's very much been the case of let's trust the process with this one. He has previously played in Scotland on loan at Greenock Morton, from Newcastle United a few seasons ago, and he's spent the last 3 seasons with Walsall, helped them get to the the playoff final this past season, and he has a fair bit of versatility. He can play centre back, can play centre mid, and can play right back. The thing that jumped out at me, just because it was like basically the first thing that you talked about in your article, was you were surprised that he has played centre back, and also the fact that when you look at him, he plays centre midfield in a different way to maybe you'd expect him to.
Yeah. So I made the conscious decision. I've never seen him play before, and I made the conscious decision not to watch him at all playing centre back because we've been told he's coming in as a centre midfielder. Who knows? But a couple of injuries or whatever, we might see him playing centre back. I can probably guarantee at some point he'll play at least a couple of minutes centre back. But yeah, he's brought in as a centre midfielder. I want to see what he's like as a centre midfielder. And centre midfielder, a centre back kind of moonlighting as a centre midfielder, which is what he's been like. He's been more of a centre back in his time at Walsall. I wasn't expecting what I saw, really. I thought it was going to be a kind of defensive midfielder who just holds his position and adds another defensive kind of player in the middle of the park, just slightly ahead of the centre backs. And I thought it was going to be, very much kind of slow and lumbered and just really holding that holding midfield position, like we saw with Peter Herring, whose birthday it was yesterday. So if you're listening, Peter, happy birthday. So yeah, I thought it was going to be just, sitting in there and maybe kind of tidy and easy on the ball, composed on the ball, but really just there to add a big physical presence and win headers just in front of the centre backs. But that's not what I saw whatsoever. So I kind of want to go back and look at him playing centre back to see how he actually plays a centre back, because I genuinely think I saw him more on the ball in like the final third in the kind of right wing position, because the games I watched, he played for like a right centre midfielder, and he very rarely went over to the left, but he was very much involved on the right-hand side, kind of right midfield and right wing positions, which I was not expecting whatsoever. I'm sure his heat map would have been very far, like over that side and further up the park, which, very surprising to see. He got into quite attacking positions. So on the ball, he got into quite attacking positions. He would support the attack and really burst forward and kind of support the strikers. He was making overlapping and underlapping runs on the right-hand side. He got, I actually didn't count, but he must have crossed the ball from like a right kind of attacking right position, maybe 5-6 times in each game. So yeah, he's very much not a holding midfielder who's just going to sit back, which was surprising to me. Then out of possession, it's kind of the same things. Again, I thought he was just going to sit back there and not chill, but scoop up anything that he could. In the air, he was going for everything, and I think he's good in the air. So he was all about the place, trying to win headers, and anyone that was kind of in his advantage, like he should have won, he won, and a lot of them he had kind of no chance to win, and maybe he didn't win them, and that shows up in the data, but he put them off or he challenged for it, which was good to see. But then the most surprising thing about his kind of out of possession stuff was he's really like a pressing midfielder, like we see in kind of Cammy Devlin or maybe Hoff, where he would be further up pressing the left back quite often. He was chasing the ball and just not giving the opposition any time on the ball. He's maybe not the most agile, but he's hard working and he'll get about the pitch. And there's a couple of occasions where, like we see with Cammy Devlin, where he's got like 3 or 4 defensive actions in one bit of play. Like he'll win a header, then he'll win a tackle, and then he'll go chase a player, like press a player, which again, it's not what I was expecting whatsoever. That's kind of
Does he give you having watched him now? Does it give you an indication of what Hearts could look like under McInnes in that? Because McInnes has obviously spoken about making Tynecastle, especially Tynecastle, a difficult place to come and like really going after teams. And what you've kind of said and what you've having read your article and what you kind of wrote is that he seems like he is going to be helped with that ability to get in people's faces as individually and collectively. Yeah,
I would say so. And it's really weird to watch because he's 6'3", and he's not big, like he's not a heavy guy, but he's not scrawny. So watching him run for 90 minutes was, I don't know how often he's going to play 90 minutes. Is he playing with that intensity? I don't know if he's got it in him. So if we are looking to play that high intensity press, I think like a combination of him and Cammy, or a rotation of him and Cammy, or even Hoff potentially would be something we could see. Definitely think that I don't see him like I've said multiple times. I was not worried, but I thought he was going to be like a holding midfielder who just stays there, and that kind of made me think, we will play with extra defensive players. But after seeing him play, I think he's going to be helping our press and helping us get in people's faces. Definitely.
It's something before I bring up your kind of data graphic, and then we kind of talk through that. You mentioned his crossing, and that's something that I noticed in the research I did when we kind of first heard about him, and just wanted to. It's always good to try and get a view from his former kind of his former club who he played last season, and the Walsall manager Matt Sadler. He talked about his crossing ability, and also that when he did play, I think when he played at centre back, so he played on the right of a back three last season at times, and it was on the right of the back three. I think he had 3 or 4 assists, and it was doing that. It was like advancing from right centre back and putting in crosses, which again fits into what I think Hearts want from their the team next season under McInnes, is people that are able and good to cross the ball into the box. So you look at we break it down now. Borchgrevink is, as you wrote about, is renowned for his crossing ability. We've added Kizaridis, who puts a lot of balls into the box, even though he's inverted. Chesnikov, if he arrives, would be similar. And then you add in McEntee, another person who gets the ball into the box, and you're suddenly thinking that there is going to be hopefully a lot more kind of goal mouth action or the ball in the opposition final third next season.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something that when Shanklin's back from his holiday, I think is going to kind of potentially, not his holiday, sorry, his what was it? He's getting married, isn't he?
Yeah, he'd just be married and then potentially, I imagine, a honeymoon.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. But it's something I think that's going to play in his mind. He didn't have the best season this year compared to previous years, but I think he got some chances, and I don't think his finishing was as good as it has been. But if he's getting all these people who are getting the ball into the penalty area by crossing it or inverting and finding passes into him and stuff, they're going to create so many chances from him, and we'll need strikers in the box who can score goals. Cabangu signed on, and I think his movement and positioning is fantastic, so he'll be there. Like when these players are getting the ball into him into the box, he will be where they cross it. They'll know exactly where he's going to be. His finishing maybe could improve, but he might get 3 or 4 chances a game just because he's there. And then with the likes of Shankland, he's going to have the service, and if he's got service, we all know his finishing can be ridiculous. So if he wants a final payday, he might get a better one elsewhere. But if he's wanting to get back into the Scotland team and
potentially become a Hearts or like a proper Hearts legend as well, this is a real opportunity.
2 more years of decent scoring years, and he's a proper legend, if not already. So you could see him wanting to stay, knowing that he's got quality around him, and we're going to be pushing hopefully up higher in the league this season.
We'll move on from our hopes and dreams and finish up by looking at the kind of the data and what that tells us. Data. Tomato. So I'll just hide this. And so, Tom, you mentioned in your article that it's a wee bit difficult this way. You're providing the data for this one because he is a versatile player, and that means that his data is kind of skewed. Whereas, so he's played at centre back and played in the midfield. So you've had to do a bit more work to kind of bring it all together. But kind of talk us through it.
Yeah. So with other players who are versatile, and like we'll bring in a player who kind of can play centre, maybe play on the wing or play up front or something, and we're not 100% sure where we expect him to play. I'll just use the data, as it is, and if we see him on the wing, it's the players. I need to do this. The players that I know will be used versatilely when they're at Hearts. I'll just use their data as is, but because we know McEntee is going to be coming in as a centre midfielder, I only wanted to use his data from centre midfield. And that was hard because the data in Y-Scout that you can get from individual games is not the same as you get from overall seasons. And you can't just click a button and have, okay, this is his data whilst playing centre mid. So it was a bit of a faff, basically. And the data might not be perfect because of that. And there are some metrics I had to miss out because they weren't available for his kind of individual game data. But if we look at the defensive side of things, he's involved in a lot of duels, and he wins a really high amount of them. He's involved in one of the most amounts of aerial duels in the league for centre midfielders, which is as expected. And then he doesn't win maybe not a huge amount. He wins a good amount of them. But like I said, when you're competing for everything, you're probably not going to have a great success rate. But when you think about 50% of, 9 per game, that's quite a lot of headers you're winning per game. And the ones that he was missing, it wasn't like he was getting, ridiculously beaten in there. He was putting the players off and stuff. One of the negatives I saw, he did give away a few stupid fouls in both games. And it was fouls like, maybe I want to say inexperienced, but probably inexperienced just due to him playing in a different position, and I think those fouls might go away. So it was kind of smart fouls if they were stopping an attack in the final third or something, but when you're in the opposition final third and making those fouls, it was one of those ones that kind of annoyed me a little bit, and I guess the ones that maybe people get annoyed at Cammy for as well. But I think it's something he could definitely cut out of his game. So if we're looking at the possession-based stuff, so we see him involved a heavy amount, which is good to see. And he's making these good passes, like passes to the penalty area, forward passes, lots of through passes, and lots of crosses. The accuracy isn't quite there, but again, when you're doing a lot of them, usually the accuracy goes down.
Yeah.
You've got to be a ridiculously good player for them to stay high.
Yeah, I mean, just coming in on that, that's one where you just like, when you just first glance at this data and you're thinking, you see the obviously, as we've gone over in the past, unfortunately in this instance, green is good, and then red and kind of orange is not so good. But the white, so like initially see that, I think, oh, there's a fair bit of kind of red and orange there, but you do, when you actually look at it's for forward passes, accurate passes to penalty area, accurate crosses, then you take it with a kind of pinch of salt because they are more high risk, more difficult things to kind of pull off. So you're always, there's a greater likelihood of it being a lower percent.
Yeah, exactly. And they're higher risk, and that shows that he's willing to do it, which is, again, a bit strange for a centre-back playing centre midfield. You know, I was expecting lots of simple passes, lots of sideward passes and backward passes, but the reality is he's actually trying things. And who knows, that they could be that he's trying them when he shouldn't be, or they could be the runs aren't quite there. But if we look further down to the expected assists, it's one of the best in the league. So clearly these high risk passes, they are maybe not working out all the time, but when they do, they're actually creating chances to score, which is good. And I guess we just got to have faith in our new wingers, our strikers who make good runs to kind of get on the end of these passes. And like I said as well, he was playing quite far up the pitch. So these high risk passes, when you're further up the pitch, probably quite likely that there'll be more players around there, more chance to get him intercepted and stuff because it will be a busier area or something like that. So he's not making these passes from the DM position where he can, like the forward passes where they're always, it's quite often a forward pass because everyone's in front of you.
Yeah.
And then when it goes to kind of dribbling, offensive duels and progressive runs, he is making quite a lot of them as well. Which
that's certainly something that when I seen that really encouraged me. Just like kind of it just shows a forward thinking player, or someone who wants to play the ball forward.
Yeah, exactly. And it's quite weird to watch because you look at him and he is big and he does look like a centre back in body and in kind of style as well. But it just works out for him. It just works. He can't change his body or his style, but he's good at it. So yeah, it's good to see. And then kind of the attacking side of things, he's not scored or assisted this season. So I left those ones off intentionally because they were, very, very, well, they were the lowest it could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, the expected assists is promising. Expected goals, it's nothing great, but it's not the worst in the league. But he has taken a decent amount of shots, and he's not got the best accuracy with that. But not watched those. It could just be that they're kind of winning headers in the box and stuff like that, which would potentially make sense because they're quite low success rate, I would say. But then it's promising to see lots of touches in the box as well, and showing a player that wants to get up there and wants to join in the attack, which is not what I expected. I'm going to reiterate that until again, it's not what I expected. It's very odd to see, and I think Hearts fans will be a bit surprised at what they see when he gets involved for the first time in Maroon. Yeah,
so kind of to conclude, and from my point of view is I've definitely far more wasn't not encouraged to begin with, but just hearing about like seeing his size and stuff, like okay, that makes sense. A wee bit different profile in midfield that the team's perhaps needed. But reading your article, which is will be on the site, and now kind of talking through it, a lot more encouraged by just it just seems like a bit more. It seems like he could be quite a handful and quite unique in how he plays, which I think's really positive.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Scottish League will suit him. The games I watched were ridiculously frantic, and I think he'll probably suit a little less frantically. We don't say that a lot about the Scottish game because it's pretty renowned for being frantic. But yeah, I think he'll kind of suit the way we play and stuff. And I've called him strange and stuff like that. I hope he's not watching this because that sounds bad. But yeah, if he is, no, it's all good. It's just strange to see. You know, he looks out of position just because of his size and build and stuff. But it works. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm much more excited than hearing we're bringing in a centre back from League Two to play centre midfield. I think lots of Hearts fans were like very confused at that, but yeah, I think it's encouraging. It's very encouraging, and we'll see. We'll see how it works out, I guess, sometime soon.
Perfect. Well, Tom, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. You will be able to find a link to Tom's article in the description below. Please do if you've not already, but please do think about subscribing to heartstandard.co.uk. We've got during the off season, it's more fresh content Monday to Friday, and both Craig and I are taking the time, taking our weekends and enjoying them before the football season starts back up again. So, but be sure to check out the content that's going up, and be sure to subscribe to YouTube if you haven't done so already. That's free. And yeah, appreciate everyone for continuing listening. We'll be back at some point this week for another show. Until the next time, goodbye.